when you were sitting there with, late 2023, 2024 version, 5, 6, 7 of this manuscript, how did you navigate like the road to publishing? Like there's a lot of options, especially given your audience and your background. Like there's a lot of ways to like go about getting a book out into the world. Like what was that decision process for you?
I was given the advice very early. If you're a first-time author, write the book. Don't even think about like publishing until you write the story. Because if you go out to traditional publishers too early, before you've written the book, you can't sell it as well because you don't actually know what the book's about. You just, you've written the pitch and maybe a couple chapters, but the rest of it's just like, well, I'm guessing this is what the story's really going to be. So if you write the book first, you have a better pitch. You're like, look, it's the story about my mom and me, and this is all this that happens. And then in chapter 26, this is what happens. So you can pitch better in the room once you've written the book. And the second is if you just write a pitch and then you go out to traditional publishers and get rejected, it's going to be really hard to follow through on the project. I knew that. I knew that if I just wrote a pitch and got rejected, I probably would throw the book away and just be like, it's clear signal that I shouldn't keep going with this. So I wrote the whole book. I wrote a draft of the whole book before making any decisions. And Scribe was recommended to me really early in the publishing process. Our mutual friend Scott, Adam had done Can't Hurt Me with you guys. And like, there's a certain level of needing good recommendations from other people because it's such an important and trusting process. You see quote unquote self-published books that look like dog shit. And you're like, dude, this is not, I don't care what is written in this book, not Scribe books, but like people who just go straight through, I published it with Amazon. And I'm like, dude, I'm not going to read this book. I don't care how good it is. Like, just doesn't look that good.
People judge a book by its cover.
They really do.
It turns out.
They really do. So I had known about Scribe, good recommendations about you guys. I thought, well, I'm going to at least try and get an agent and see how this goes. So I went on to Publishers Marketplace, which is a website where you can find agents. You pay like a monthly subscription. It's like $20 a month. And it's the names of all these agents. I wrote to an agent at DeFiore, and he took me on. He's a really awesome agent and he still represents me. So I thought like, well, I'm going to try this out. And we put together the pitch. That was a really good process for me to at least like just see how that whole thing works. Like I'm a first timer in this whole industry. So I think it was a really healthy exercise to go through with that pitch process with him. Thankfully, we were able to pitch it all pretty quickly. So there wasn't a year lost in the pitch process. You hear these horror stories of people who have like written the book and then they're just in limbo for like 2 years. We were able to like get it out over the process of 2 or 3 months, pitched it to the big 5, basically got really similar answers from all of them, which is this guy's a super sharp writer. Like I'm engaged in the story from the get-go. The writing's clean. Like I had done a lot of the work early to make, and that was a big selling point is we're like, look, the book is really close to being done. You don't need to invest a ton in reworking this thing. It's a memoir and it's a how-to. We don't really know where to place this, so love to hear from you in the future. But my agent said, I think that the strongest parts of this book are between you and your mom. And like, I don't want to see you Frankenstein this thing into a how-to after having put your heart on the line here. And that was an incredibly cool thing of him to say, knowing that he's not going to financially benefit from it if I ended up going with Scribe. And I thought, I once heard Jerry Seinfeld say, win or lose, you need to do it your way. If you succumb to the pressures of industry or collaborators and you know in your heart that it's not the way to do it and it doesn't work, that's how people become homicidal, right? Like if they're like, wow, I spent 5 years on this project. I knew it should have gone this way. It ended up going that way. And now I feel too old or broken to do another one, right? Like I knew in my heart that this was the way this book had to go. And I feel so fucking proud of it. I'm psyched on the result of it. I loved reading it the way that I read it. This book works and people are reading it and they're telling me it works. So just because logically it's like, we don't know where to place you, I was like, that's not a good enough excuse for me to think that I should do away with the story. Because going back to like what I said at the beginning, the logic was people need to know what happened for me. I needed to show how hard it was if I'm asking people to do this hard thing. And without the story with me and my mom or some flattened version of it, I'm just not going to feel very proud. Scribe very gracefully took me back. And
we don't mind being shopped.
Yeah.
However you want to do it, we'll be here.
No, I appreciate that. No, it's amazing. I don't have the experience going through a traditional publisher, so I can't compare this experience to that. But Adam said, and I agree, that it is every bit as professional as having gone through a Penguin Random House. The editing that I received, from the global feedback all the way down to the sentence by sentence feedback, to just feeling like, okay, I know where we are, to really meeting deadlines and doing a huge amount. It's a part-time job the whole time, working with Scribe. You're expecting a lot of the author. You can't keep pushing a book forward if the author's just going to phone it in and expect you guys to do everything. So it's a real collaborative and working relationship over that year-long period. I mean, it worked. Like we stayed ahead of schedule, and I'm really happy with the outcome.